South Hills, today I'm excited to talk to you about our South Hills, Kenya campus outside of city of Nairobi in a town called Chumbi. We get to do outreach, we get to serve the community, and we get to do this because of Above and Beyond. We use some of that money to ultimately impact global communities like our South Hills Kenya campus. And I just wanted to take a moment and let you hear from our Kenya campus pastor, Pastor Philip, on all the great things that are happening in that community, all because of you.
I am Philip Mudosi, the lead pastor at Chumbi South Hills. And today, on my background, you can see our church members sharing lunch, and we are grateful to God because of what He's doing to us as a church. I want to first appreciate South Hills for your support for music ministry. Also, the support we are receiving from our children through to Maini, because it is giving them hope. We are grateful to you. We want to thank God for standing with us. May God bless you. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
South Hills, once again, thank you. Thank you for trusting God with your finances. Thank you for going above and beyond your tithe to give towards the funding of Above and Beyond so that we can continue to make a difference in communities like Kenya.
We're going to be starting a brand new series today, and it's called Revolutionary. Revolutionary. Now, when I say the word revolutionary, there's going to be some things that come to your mind, right? Maybe it's rock and roll, maybe it's technology, maybe it's a certain leader that comes to your mind when you hear revolutionary. Maybe you hear war. When you think war, maybe you think revolutionary, something like that. And the truth is that these words come to mind when you say revolutionary because they have the same common core traits. What do all revolutionaries have? They're original, they're radical, sometimes they're even heretical, they're all transformational, certainly. Now, when I say the name Jesus, would you actually consider using the word revolutionary? Well, some people might not. Why? Well, because it sounds a little too harsh. It sounds a little too radical, maybe, for Jesus. It's a little too out there. When we think of Jesus, we think of kindness and gentleness and love and hope and peace, and those are all true. But the fact of the matter is that revolutionary would be a great word to describe Jesus. Revolutionary. Why? Because he changed everything. He changed absolutely everything. Revolutionized everything. Okay? Everything. And when you think of it that way, you think, well, he is a total revolutionary. In fact, the early Christians called it his way. You ever see The Mandalorian? This is the way. Well, the early Christians called it his way, and it consisted of beauty and goodness and truth and, yes, grace. And today we're going to be talking about a revolutionary word called grace. Now, what's the opposite of grace? Revenge. And I'm going to give you, revenge feels really good. I'm going to be honest with you. Revenge feels great at times. It does. That's why we love movies. That's why we go to the movies, because we like to see a good revenge, right? I mean, we just watched Robin Hood last night, Prince of Thieves, the Kevin Costner one. I mean, I was thinking, what if the sheriff of Nottingham won? We would be like, we got gypped. Or like, what if at the end of like Star Wars, you know, Darth Vader kills Luke and Han and saves the Death Star? We'd feel gypped, right? Or what if at the end of Rocky, Apollo beats Rocky? It's a trick question because Apollo did beat Rocky, right? But notice he had to come up with like 8 other ones to correct the original problem. So we like a good revenge story. It feels good. We like when the bad guy gets it in the end. It's right. That's restoring order. That's what it is. And it feels really good. I remember it was a couple of years ago now, but I've gotten several tickets on Ortega. And just so you know, when you're driving on Ortega, the police, yeah. Other people have tickets on Ortega, thank you. It's a very dangerous place to drive. And so I'm going on Ortega, and if you go from Antonio to Ortega, it's 2 lanes, and then it goes into 1. Well, I know now I can only go 45 on Ortega because I'm going to get a ticket for sure. So I'm going, and this guy is riding my butt, just riding. And finally, he when it opens up to 2 lanes, he goes past me and he looks me down the whole way. And he just keeps driving, like super fast. And I was like, whatever. So I was gonna go up and make a left. I see a police officer pull him over. I get out of the left lane, all the way over here, going out of my way simply to drive really slowly by him and going. And it felt great. I love feeling this, right? I know, Pastor James, right? Confession time. Felt great though, it did, sorry. Now, again, we love the movies because it gives us a fantasy of we're able to finally see revenge in them, because normally we don't get to do that in real life, but that's why we like them. Has anybody ever had a really terrible boss? Yeah? Now, there's a reason why the film 9 to 5 is so popular. It was made like 40 years ago, but it's so popular because if you've ever had a bad boss, I'm sure you've kind of fantasized about putting that boss in his place. Have you ever thought of maybe, do you have a picture of that guy up there? Do you have that? Yeah, have you ever thought of that, doing that to your boss? You know, your boss drives you crazy, you kind of string him up or her up, and you're like, you know what, I'm not into you having you mess with me anymore. And there's a reason why that movie is so popular, because I want to take that boss out. But you would never actually do that, right? Please tell me you wouldn't. If you are, please let me know. I don't want you getting arrested. But when you look at this, every ancient religion had its own codes or parameters for revenge or for payback. Okay, including Judaism, which is the religious tradition that Jesus grew up in and which Christianity grew out of. And so they all have their own traditions here. And we see this in the Old Testament about payback or revenge. And it says this in Leviticus 24:19. If anyone who maims another shall suffer the same injury in return. Fracture for fracture. I'm so sorry. I'm going further up. Deuteronomy 25:11 says this. If men get into a fight with one another and the wife of one intervenes to rescue her husband from the grip of his opponent by reaching out and seizing his genitals, you shall cut off her hand. Show no pity. I get the aggression behind this, so you know. I mean, I do. And I'm not making this up. It's really here in the Bible. This isn't me just. And 2, this would probably be a question I'd ask a girl I was dating. Like, let's just say I get into a fight and you were going to break it up. How would you kind of, because I like your hands. I don't want them going anywhere. But this is the truth. Now, it seems a little harsh, correct? Again, there's a lot of other ways to break up a fight, people. But it seems a little aggressive. It seems a little harsh. And some people might think, wow, that's really, really aggressive. And it is. But others could actually see this and go, I sort of like the black and white to it. I know that it's aggressive, that I know it's extreme, but I like that the rules are this or this. I like that. I like living in this black and white universe where it's either right or it's wrong, even as extreme as it sounds. Now, the most one that we've heard about revenge, and the one we hear the most, is also found in the Old Testament. It's in Leviticus 24:19. It says this. Anyone who maims another shall suffer the same injury in return, fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The injury inflicted is the injury to be suffered. One who kills an animal shall make restitution for it, but one who kills a human being shall be put to death. Now, what sounds so good about this passage? The exact same thing that sounded so good to the Jewish people in the time that this was written. It sounds fair. They liked it and we like it. We like it because this sounds very, very fair. If you hurt me, I get to hurt you. It's really that simple. It's just tit for tat. You do this, I get to do this. Now fast forward to the New Testament. The Jewish people are being persecuted by the Romans. The Romans own everything. They're Jewish people are complete second-class citizens. And there is a reason why people despised tax collectors in Jesus' day. And the reason was why is that the Romans were overworking the Jewish people and they were overtaxing them. So the time is ripe for a Messiah. someone to come in and correct all of this problem, right? We need a Messiah. We need someone to come in and correct this. They need to take the Romans out, and they need to put the good guys in. And that's what we need to happen. Now, people actually thought, well, maybe that's Jesus. Maybe he's the Messiah. Maybe he's the one. And then he starts to say very radical things like this, Matthew 5:38. You have heard it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, give your coat as well. And if anyone forces you to go a mile, go a second mile. Now again, remember, if you're going to follow Jesus, and you're thinking you're supposed to make everything right, why are you telling us this? This makes us weaker. You're supposed to save us from the evil Romans. This is supposed to be a good thing, and you're actually making us weaker. I don't understand what this is all about. Jesus was talking about a revolutionary idea, and it's called grace. Now think about this. Grace was core to everything that Jesus taught. Now, Jesus doesn't really define grace so much as he demonstrates it or models it. And when Jesus describes grace, he does so a lot in stories. So Jesus tells a lot of stories, and they're called parables. And what we get from these parables is this. Giving grace is when you have the right or the ability to make someone pay, but you don't. That's what grace is. You have the right to, but you don't make them pay. So the audience that Jesus was speaking to is, what is that? The big reason I've started to follow you is because I thought you were here to make everything right. And if that's how it's going to be, I'm not sure I want to follow you. What's the point? And it sounds petty, doesn't it? It's like we could hear this and go, but he's Jesus, and you could follow him. And no, I want revenge. This isn't revenge. This is wimpy. You know, I'm going to give you an example here. I think a lot of times, people that we care about, maybe they respond in a certain way, and maybe they're even responding in a grace-filled way, and you're looking at them like, what are you doing? And I'm going to give you one word for my example. French fries. I'm not an English major. Okay. French fries. So, let's say, for example, you're starving. You are hungry, you're starving, you cannot wait to go get something to eat. You are so hungry, and you're there with a friend or your spouse or whatever. And you go to In-N-Out, and when you get to In-N-Out, the line is super long. And you're like, but I really want In-N-Out, and I want their fries, and I want them animal style, and I want to do all. So you finally get up, you order your entire meal, and then you go sit down and you wait. And you know the waiting game, guys, because the waiting game makes you angry, doesn't it? Who here has ever done this? Just really quick. You're 82, and they go 81. No, we're not. 83. What? What? Do you know how to count? 82 comes after 81, and you're already you're ready to start boxing somebody, right? So finally your number comes up, 82. You go and you get your food, and you're thinking, okay, now I'm, and the fries are not there. And you can go, where's my fry? I have my receipt. And what if the person at the counter says, I'm so sorry, we're really busy. You're going to have to wait in line again. And the line's super long. And what if you go, you know what? It's okay. It's all right. And you go back and you sit down with a really good Christian friend. That Christian friend is going to go, oh, heck no. Give me the receipt. I'll go take care of it, right? How many of you would do that? How many of you would say, no, we paid for this. I am not going to wait in line. I'm going to go take care of this right now. Come on, show a hand. All right. For those of you who did not raise your hand, sinner. Okay. Now, the disciples were the same way, guys. Luke 9:54, it says this, when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them? But he turned and rebuked them. Now you go, golly, that sounds extreme. Hey, French fries, don't forget. Jesus' reaction was like, we don't do that. That's not what we do. So the big question for us this morning is, how far was he going to take this? Think about this. It's so easy to show grace. It's so easy. In fact, if it's so easy, like where you're like, it's okay, it's not a big deal, then I would argue, is that even grace? It's so easy. But what about when people are actively trying to hurt you? The disciples get to see this firsthand. There was very powerful people that wanted to hurt Jesus. And I want to make something super duper clear here if you're studying scripture. They didn't want to hurt Jesus because he did miracles or he was a kind man. They wanted to hurt him because his ideas were revolutionary. They were completely revolutionary to what they were brought up, what they were taught, and what they thought was supposed to be right and wrong, even though they were talking to God in human form. Now, I'm sure they were all wondering when they captured Jesus, what's he going to do? Is he really going to turn the other cheek? He keeps preaching all this stuff. What is he going to do? Now we get to see firsthand if he's going to live to this stuff that he teaches or not. Okay, well, what will he actually do? We see here in Matthew 26:47, it says, while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived with him. With him was a large crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, the one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him. At once he came up to Jesus and said, greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. Jesus said to him, friend, do you do what you are here to do? Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and arrested him. Now, to be clear, Jesus isn't surprised that Judas is there. In fact, if you notice, he calls him friend. But he does so in a very non-violent, non-vengeance way. But not all the disciples reacted this way. We see here, fast forward, Matthew 26:51. Suddenly, one of those with Jesus put his hand on his sword, drew it, and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said, put your sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will die by the sword. Now, the disciple pretty much reacts like any one of us may react. I didn't start this fight. They started it. I'm simply trying to help you. They're the ones that are aggressive. I'm just reacting to what they're doing, right? They would have had that kind of mentality. But Jesus makes the point, if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. He's speaking literally, but he is also speaking metaphorically. And I think this metaphor is giving us the idea of this. When someone hurts us and we respond to them just like them, we become them. That's the metaphor he's trying to teach you. If you're going to live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. You're going to be just like them. You're going to be just like everything you resent about them. You see, revenge turns the oppressed into the oppressor. The only way to be free from them is to refuse to be like them. Guys, I've counseled for 18 years, and I've seen parents with anger issues. And 9 out of 10 times they have anger issues because their parents had anger issues with them. Their dad smacked them around, and so when they became a dad, their dad's no longer there, and they're doing the thing that they hated being done to them, and they do it to their kids. And then so on and so on and so on. They almost become what they hated, you know? So let's put ourselves in the disciples' place. Wouldn't we think, what are we supposed to do? Just nothing? Jesus, you want us to do nothing and just stand around and just watch? But inaction is not the answer. I say this because in another account of the story in Scripture, we're told Jesus doesn't just say something, he actually does something. So what does Jesus do? In Luke 22:51, it says, but Jesus said, no more of this. He touched his ear and healed him. Now, I think what's really cool here is it shows an exclamation mark in Scripture, and I think this is giving us the idea that Jesus probably yelled this, like, no more of this. Then he, heals him, right? And I think he was I think everybody probably stopped what they were doing and looked at him when he said it. Jesus is making it clear, I came to heal the wounds, not to inflict them. So I'm here to save the world, not to condemn it. Now look at what the Bible says here in John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, and I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. He cannot be more clear here. Now, generally, when we read this, we think, of course it's bad to kill and steal and destroy, and that's all evil, and I get that. But I should have the right to pay somebody back what they did to me. So I get killing and stealing and destroying. I get that it's evil. But if you punch me, I could punch you back. I should have the right to do that. Jesus would actually disagree with you. And being the revolutionary he is, he wanted to change the way we respond to another. You see, when someone opposed or offended him, Jesus chose responses that would give them life rather than get them back. He chose responses that would give them life rather than get them back. Now, I get, guys, this is not easy. This is super duper duper hard. Why? We all love the idea of grace until we're required to give it to people we don't think deserve it. Okay? We love the idea of grace. But then when we have to give it to people that we don't think we deserve it, that's a whole different story. That person's mean to me. They shouldn't get grace. That person belongs to a different political party. They shouldn't get grace. That person doesn't agree with my faith. I'm a Christian and they're another faith. They shouldn't get my grace. I'm right, they're wrong. They shouldn't get my grace. Let me explain this to you. Grace is not something you feel you are owed. If you feel like you've done enough to receive grace, it is no longer grace. Okay? Now, Jesus was very adamant that we respond this way. Why? Because Jesus insisted that while retaliation will hurt them back, only grace will heal us both. Jesus doesn't just love and care about you. He loves the person that annoys you. He loves the person that you don't agree with at all. He loves that person too. And have you ever been in a fight with somebody? Maybe you even won the fight, but did you really win? Do you feel better now? Maybe you even left them in tears and you go, yep, I inflicted pain on them just like they did me. You feel better now? I could tell you one thing, you can go off on somebody, but I could promise you this, you guys aren't healed. I'll tell you that for sure. You're just because you get them back doesn't mean that you're now healed. Jesus is interested in healing you, not just having you win an argument or a fight. Now, what's really interesting about this here is that the disciple that cuts the ear off of that soldier in the Bible, if you look at the Bible in the New Testament, any account of this, it does not out the disciple who does it, except for John. John's the stool pigeon, okay? So, like, if you're Peter and you're in heaven, you're like, hey, good to see Moses. No, great. Where's John? John, did you have to tell everybody it was me? Really, John, seriously. But here's the cool thing. This is what makes what Peter says even better, okay? Peter's the one that's outed. Peter's the one that cuts off the ear, right? He's the one that gets outed by John. But look at what Peter has to say later in the gospel. 1 Peter 3:9. Do not repay evil for evil or abuse for abuse, but on the contrary, repay with a blessing. It is for this that you were called, that you might inherit a blessing. That's the same Peter that cut the ear off that Jesus said, no, that's not how we respond. I wonder where Peter gets this from, right? Now, Christians, I'm going to specifically be talking to you, and I'm looking in the camera as well. Being in ministry for several years, been in ministry for 18 years, and in all of those 18 years, I have been at churches that some people would consider seeker-sensitive, whatever that is. It's just seeker-sensitive churches. And if there's one complaint that I have heard over and over and over and over is, we need to go deeper. We need to get deeper in the Word. We need to go deeper in the Word. I've heard that a billion times. I am not suggesting that we should not get into the Word. The Holy Word of God is extremely important to our salvation. It's important how God communicates to us through His Word. But remember this, okay? Understand this. When you want to go deeper, the deep things of God aren't academic. They're intimate. What do I mean by that? We all want the mind of God, but what we need is the heart of God, okay? So if your definition of going deep in your faith is diving deeper in the Word, then you're not getting it. You're just not getting it. Because here's the deal. We need to go deeper. We need to dissect the Word deeper. And the church down the street, pastor, they do church in Latin and Aramaic and in Hebrew and Greek. I mean, they get into it. You know what? Here's the deal. For those people that are saying that, they still have grace to extend that they haven't been extending. They still have people to forgive that they have not been forgiving. So what do you want to go into Greek and Hebrew for? To not do what the Bible says in 4 different languages? You know, you can go as deep as you want to go, but if you're not doing it, and if you don't have the heart of God, what's the point? Right? So when you talk about going deeper with who God is, you have to talk about the heart of God. A lot of times, guys, people, when they do this, when they go deeper for knowledge's sake only, history would show us that they've done so in order to kind of put themselves above other people. In the Bible, they would call it Pharisees. They knew the Bible front and back. They had it all memorized. They had it all down. But were they showing the love of Jesus? Now, let me make something perfectly clear here. This does not, I repeat, does not mean you should give people everything they want. That's not what I'm suggesting. But it does mean you give them what they need in a way that they're most likely to receive it. So the question would be this morning, are your responses to others shaped more by giving them life or getting them back? Getting them back feels great, but are your responses to others shaped more by giving them life or getting them back? Even though Scripture is important, it does not equal spiritual depth, guys. Remember that. Now, that's what we have to focus on this morning. And Jesus is saying, if you really want to grow spiritually, it's not what it is you know necessarily, it's what you do. And are you giving grace to others? Because God gives us grace freely. He wants us to understand that. When you guys understand grace, when you give it to somebody, you're for the first time really able to understand God's grace that he gives for you. So ask yourself this question. Who needs the same grace from me that God gives to me? Who needs the same grace from me that God gives to me? And there's extra bonus points if it's someone that's really ticked you off. If someone you cannot stand, extra bonus points for that, okay? But what if we actually took it a step further? What if your goal became being an expert in the field of grace? Think about that. You know how you become an expert at something? You practice it. You rehearse it. You do it over and over and over and over again. Guys, the enemy is so unbelievably scared of you understanding grace. That's the only card he's got on you. Because if you understand grace and you understand that God's giving you grace, then you're going to extend grace to somebody, and now he doesn't have a trump card over you anymore because you go, well, what about this that you've done? I don't care. I'm covered by grace. Oh. Well, what about that person that ticked you off? I'm extending grace to them. Oh. He loses all of his sting when you get it. He doesn't want you understanding it. It's incredibly important that we do this, that we understand this. Now, have you ever met anybody who lives to pay people back? Do they seem happy to you? I like to call them scoreboarders. And when you talk to them, they give you a scoreboard of everybody who's hurt them and that they would have the life that they wanted if it wasn't for this person. If it wasn't for these people, I would have this life. But these people made my life terrible, and it's all your fault. Ever hear this? I did this for mom, you only did this. I did this for dad, you only did this. I did this for my spouse, you only did this. I did this for my circle of friends, you only did this. And in their mind, I did this, and you've done this, and I am better, and you are not as good as me. And they go through life saying, if they would have only been like this, my life would be good. But because they've only done this, my life is terrible, and it's their fault. Do you like being around those people? I don't. When I'm around those people, I'm like, oh, man, I'm bushed. Look at the time. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I know, but I just got to get some rest. You know, it's like you don't want to be hanging around people like that because they're always telling you, scoreboard. Scoreboard. It's not fair. Somebody else wronged me. Somebody else is the reason why I'm not good. You know who scoreboarders like to hang around? Other scoreboarders. So they can commiserate with each other and tell each other how unfair everybody else is and how they would have good life if it wasn't for that person. But you know what? They're great at it. Why are they great at it? They practice it. They practice telling everybody they talk to how great they are and how terrible everybody else is. Okay? Now, I'm assuming that's not the kind of life you want. It sounds awful. But what if we practice giving grace like we practice revenge? Think about that for a second. I did a little study, and I called a buddy of mine who is not a Christian. He would not consider himself a Christian. He's not like church. I've invited him several times, but we get along great. And I said, hey, dude, I'm doing a thing for my church. He goes, I'm not going to your church. I'm not going to stand up there. I'm like, you don't have to do anything. I just want to ask you some questions. He goes, what's the question? I go, I want you to give me one word that describes Christians. He's like, seriously? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay. And he goes, conservative. I'm like, okay, well, give me some, So he good. He said, here's the list. He said, conservative, serious, boring, straight-laced, nice, kind, well-intentioned, and did I say boring? Yes, you said it twice. Those are the words that you would describe Christians. I said, would revolutionary be anywhere in there? He's like, no way. It should be. It should be. Revolutionary should be the one word that could describe us Christians. Why? Because we want to be revolutionary to what the world is saying. And to do that, we have to extend grace to those who have hurt us. It's a revolutionary idea. Guys, we are in a society right now that is primed for this. Why? Because our society right now is all payback, 100% payback. You did this to me, I get to do this back to you. No matter what side of the fence you're on, I'm going to pay you back, I'm going to pay you back, I'm going to pay you back. And it's all scoreboard and payback. And even if it's something that you didn't do, it's something that your ancestors had to have done. So let's go further back and further back and further back. And so it's always something that somebody did wrong. What an amazing opportunity to actually be a revolutionary for grace. You don't think the world needs that right now? I know you don't believe in what I believe in. I'm still going to extend you grace. I know that we're disagreeing on some stuff, and that's okay. I'm going to extend you grace. I'm not going to say hurtful words to you or label you something that you're not or put you in a box. I'm going to extend grace. You don't believe in my faith. You don't believe in my beliefs. You don't believe in anything that I believe in. It's okay. I'm going to extend grace to you. That's how you make a difference. Not by trying to win an argument or trying to convince somebody that you're right and they're wrong. Now listen, I'm not suggesting change your beliefs to make other people happy. I'm not suggesting change God's word to make other people happy. That's not something that we have. I'm not suggesting don't have opinions, or I'm not suggesting just go and be taken advantage of. I'm simply suggesting, what if we extend the kind of grace that we have been given freely by God? That's all I'm suggesting. What if we did that? What if we weren't in a hurry to beat people up in an argument? What if we actually said, God, you gave me this grace. I don't deserve it. You don't owe it to me, but I'm going to extend this grace to somebody else that doesn't agree with me, that's maybe hurt me, that I don't get along with or like. Guys, when my friend describes our church, I want him to say they're a bunch of revolutionaries. They are not afraid to extend grace to people that don't agree with them, don't want to hear what they have to say, but they still extend grace to me. They're safe. Those people are safe. Maybe I wouldn't be accepted at a lot of Christian organizations, but South Hills, they're safe. They extend grace to me. We don't always have to agree, but we could extend grace to each other. Guys, that is a revolutionary thought. C.S. Lewis, famous author, said this quote. This is what we'll close with. When the whole world is running toward a cliff, he who is running in the opposite direction appears to have lost his mind. What he's saying there is, follow God, even though the world's going to say that's crazy, or society's going to say that's crazy. Let's dare to be different, church. Let's dare to extend that grace. Guys, I've told you before, and I've said it again, we're going to have a service after this. And by that time, I'm going to be like one of those old school Pentecostal preachers. I'm going to go, oh boy, woo. But we're going to have another service. There have been larger movements. There's been tens of thousands of people for changing lives for Christ. Movements that have started with people half the size of the people in this room. So it's our time, because I want to be part of that. Jesus is the head of this church. It's his church. I'm serving as a shepherd in his church, but I want to shepherd you into a revolution of grace. And I want us to extend that. And we're going to be talking about that every week in this series. I'd encourage you to come back and check that out. But we're going to close with this. Father, we just thank you so much, God, for the grace that you've given us. God, we don't deserve it. We're not owed it. We didn't do anything for you to give it to us. You gave it to us freely, God, and we just gladly accept it. But Father, we're in a society right now that is in dire need to cancel each other out. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, we're just waiting to tell the other side how bad they are. But Father, what if there was something else? What if there was Christ followers that weren't afraid of leading with grace? What could that do? What could that do if we actually really trusted you? If we really trusted you with this? Not try to pay people back or try to live off of revenge, but rather with grace, God. What you could do with that? Well, this church wants to do that, God. Your church here in Southern Orange County. And so we're trusting you for that, God. Help us to continue to look at spiritual depth as a way of growing closer to you, not just memorizing a bunch of verses, God, but actually growing closer to your heart of who you are. Father, help this church to be an example of that. Father, and if there's anybody who doesn't know you, I pray that they can get to know you right now by simply saying, Jesus, come into my life and change me. I want to know you today and forever. And Father, if anybody just says that simple prayer, Jesus, I want you to be my Savior forever. God, we know their life has changed, and I pray that they can let us know about it so I can walk them through that. But thank you, Father, for your church, that we get to be reminded of who you are, using your word, talking to you in prayer, and having each other to remind each other that we are here for you, God. This is all for you. It's in your name. Amen.